This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Last week we did further work down in the bilges on the water and diesel tanks and did work on the cabinetry in the forward cabins.
All right, and as you can see, we're approaching Christmas here, and so we're working hard to try to get as much of our green panels that are left, which aren't very many, into the boat. So we've been working hard at that. We're going to show you everything we did at the lot this week. So we're going to hop over there, but stick around after that because we are going to take some viewer questions this week. So we'll see you then. Monday morning. That means the ultimate coat, last of the 5 coats of resin onto all of these tanks. And so we're ready to roll. So we're gonna get right to it here, and then we'll head over to the port side and do that as well. All right. Time for the grand finale, at least with the bottoms of all of these gray water, black water, and diesel tanks. We don't have to do anything in the leaning down in there anymore. And we've got a lot of work to do up on top of them with all of the sealing of the diesel lids, the sole, the plumbing, all that's up on top though. So not have to lean down inside of there anymore. This was the end of the leaning. That's good. That's a pain in the back to do. So I just got this one more time. I can get that, and then we'll move on to lids and stuff. Now today, we're going to go ahead and put Basalt on top of the diesel lids, or the part that faces the diesel, not the tops. And then we'll start coating them with their 5 coats of epoxy. So during this week we'll get those done. So we probably won't be ready to seal these tanks up until close to the end of the week, at least the diesel tanks. The water tanks will be a lot longer before they get sealed up. The reason they'll be a lot longer is once we've sealed up these diesel tanks, the next order of business is going to be besides a little bit of plumbing work, is going to be cutting the Daggerboard casings in. And that's going to be some odd work here because it sits about here. And so we're going to end up notching out part of this that we put in. It's all right. We can notch that out, reseal it. And then we're gonna have to put a wall in this direction back here once we know exactly where that Daggerboard goes, casing goes. Then we'll build that wall in, so we will have to put Basalt on there. We can put it on there before we put it in, and then just tab the edges around. So that won't be terrible. Then we'll have to seal that with 5 layers of epoxy. And what that does is creates a box here that the Daggerboard casing sits inside of. And so once we put the sole down on top of that, it creates a waterproof box around the casing itself. And if for some reason the casing ever got, the Daggerboard hit something and it tweaked the casing a little bit, it would only flood a little tiny compartment this big. So that's what we're going to be doing in the near future. But today, the final major coating. After many days and many layers. All set. So next up today, we've got our Basalt out here. And those are all the tank lids for the diesel tanks over there. And we're starting to cut out our layer of basalt that's going to fit onto each of these. And, you know, technically this isn't really required because these lids aren't under any major stress like, you know, the bottom of the hull is. But why not coat the entire tank of those diesel tanks in basalt before we put on our, you know, resin finish? I'll just feel better about it. So we'll do it because that way the whole tank, top and bottom sides, everything is all a layer of basalt. And of course, you know, 2 layers of fiberglass below that, and then all the layers of resin on top of it. This morning, we're doing the second set of diesel lids. This is for, I don't know, which side is this, Brian? This is the port side. Brian did the starboard side yesterday while I was in a meeting that I had to go to, and about boat stuff. But while I was gone, Brian did those set of lids. So anyway, as I was saying, we're putting basalt on to these right now, and then tomorrow we'll start coating all 12 of these tops, so these lids, with layers of resin. There we go. We got a layer of basalt on all of these, and we're going to move those over somewhere to set up and clear this area for the next job. Now, at the end of last week, we got this all prepped and ready to be put in. Had to do just a little bit more this morning. We had to prep this hole right here and a pipe to take the water down when we have it drain out. It's going to go down there, and then we'll hook a tube to it underneath. It'll go down into a bilge area where it can get pumped overboard. That's assuming a lot of water. I'm hoping it never has that much water, but we'll be ready for it just in case. And Brian's mixing up some thickener right now, so we're going to go ahead and do it all. We're going to glue in the bridges. We're going to glue down the track, the actual trough here, and we're going to glue in the back spacers back there to keep water from going down when it wicks. And we're going to glue the tube in so it has somewhere to go. And got a little wall that we have here, which is going to be to keep the water into this little box here if it does go down there while it drains. So it's about ready to roll. I just need epoxy. Okay, our drain hole going down. This is all sealed across the back over there. down here, and we'll come down there where we drain it down. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's okay. Either way. But it looks good. Well, with all of the tops of the diesel tanks setting up with their new layers of basalt, and we just put them in the hull as a place to let them set up, we can't work in there anymore right now. So what we've done is we've gone back here to the forward cabin to kind of finish up, and we're going to get the top and bottom struts that go across there glued in, and we're going to put the shelves in on this side over here. And of course the little pieces that get rid of these weird shapes on each end so we can have rectangular cupboard openings here. We're back on the rudders, and with other things already in the hull that are setting up, we don't want to work in there right now, so that's okay. We can work out here on our rudders. So first thing I got to do is get this all cleaned up while Brian's mixing up some thickened epoxy. And what we're going to do is glue together both halves at the same time here. That's the way we'll be sure that it's bonded together properly, and we won't have to worry about squeeze out getting in the way when we put the other half on and such. So that's the plan. I already cleaned most of them, but a little to go here. All right, we're going to bed these in with thickened epoxy in here. All right, a little more work than we thought to get this to clamp completely, but we are on at this point, and but we don't really have enough clamps right in this minute to do another one, so we'll just let this one set up tonight, and then we'll do this one in the morning. These are our diesel lids, and they've got their nice shiny basalt layers on there now, but they've got rough edges on them that we purposely let hang over a little bit and make sure that the part that diesel is going to get to is covered. And so that means we have to grind off all these edges, which is what I'm doing right now. We'll get them cleaned up and start putting our layer after layer of resin on them. So we're putting our first coat on all of these at once. I'm doing the port side of the boat, and he's doing the starboard side over there where you see that. And we don't have to roll these on because they're flat surface like this. We can squeegee them. So it was our quest to get all of the green into the boat. In essence, that means the shell of the boat is finished by the end of December. Well, where we're at right now, we're not going to make that. And mostly that's because the bilge work that we were doing, sealing all of those tanks, just stopped us from working on more green stuff. And so it's just going to take some into January now to get all of that done. And but that doesn't mean that we're not still spilling right there. We're not trying to get all the green in. We are. So what we're doing today is gluing in shelving that goes into the starboard companionway area, and because it's green panels that you see here that are not in the boat yet. So we're working on that right this second. What I'm doing right now is these shelves were about a centimeter or two short for where we want to put them. So we're just extending them around a little less than an inch or so. But that's not all we're doing right now. These are the little panels that were the front cupboards in the port side forward cabin. And we're going to glue those green ones in right now. And we've also been working on the shelving, this one here, which this is a shelf that has to be able to drop out if the boat ever flipped over, so that we have access to our escape hatch. And since we redesigned that part of the boat and moved the escape hatch there, we had to make special shelving and customize it to make it work so that the shelves can fall out if the boat flipped over, and you have access to that escape hatch without any serious hassles. So because of that, we cored out the edges of this, because these will not be sealed to the boat at all, because this has to fall out. So we got to fill this. Oh, 2 jobs out of 3 where we had enough, but we got to mix more epoxy. We're back in the forward cabin on the port side, putting our little walls in here. And that's a wrap for today. We've gotten quite a few different pieces in the boat glued in today, and we've prepped some more. We started working on the cupboard area over here. We just made this piece right here that's going to glue in right up and down right on this side here and create this cupboard. Over here we're going to have to create a small little wall here and a little sort of a little box shape, because these cables are going to come up from here, from below, and then go into here. So I don't have to keep all of this, so I can have this go with a little box shape here. So we haven't cut that yet, but we've got this one ready to be glued in. We've got these two ready, which are the top and bottom of the hanging closet here, and they're ready to glue in. And we started prepping for putting all the edges on all of these, because there's a ton of storage compartments in these hulls, and we've got most of them in from a long time ago over here. But what they don't have yet is their lip on the front. So started finding pieces that are going to be the lips that go in front of each of these things. And so every one of these gets a lip in front, so stuff doesn't just easily just slide out and fall. And of course, we're going to be putting our netting over the top of all these, so nothing can fall out, but we still want a hard edge at the bottom of all these. So we'll be cutting those soon and gluing them in. So they will all end up looking like those ones over there. They already have their lips on those three. So these cabins are coming along, and we'll soon have these holes all fixed up here too. The biggest things left, of course, are the walls that go inside of here for the bathrooms. And we just can't put those in because we have to finish all these diesel tanks, and that's why these are holding us up. We're getting there though. Both sides of the boat has all of the diesel stuff as far as the sealing of the tanks done. And once those lids are done, today we worked out what plumbing we have to make, and it really isn't going to be very much work. A little bit, but a day or two, and we'll have all the plumbing made, because we actually have to make the fiberglass tubes and stuff that are for some of these tanks. And so we'll get to work on those, and then we can cut the holes for them and mount them into this. And once that's done, we're off to putting in the tops of the diesel tanks. And right after that, we're going to put the Daggerboard casings in. So you saw us build those, but we got to put them in now. We mixed up some more epoxy, and we're over on the port side doing a similar job, although we're going to glue in a little extra divider over there at the same time. So, got a bunch of parts putting in the boat. I always like gluing stuff in the boat permanently. And the boat's further along. Our hanging closet's in, our rod is in, it's inserted and glued in both sides. A little piece on the bottom here, something to attach the netting to. And that little cupboard side is in, and the L brackets for the fallout shelf are in. So we're moving along here today. Lots of stuff done. It's Saturday, and Jeff and Brian and I are out on the deck because we're starting to do the work of putting our Daggerboard casings into the hull. And the problem is we've got this angled piece here, and the Daggerboard sits in there. You can see sort of a weird drawing over there. And the Daggerboard casing has to go in at a 9-degree angle down through, but going through that angled piece of foam right there. So what we did is Jeff and Brian and I put our Daggerboard casing over here, and we put this at a 9-degree angle to it would match up for what it's going to be sitting at when it's in the boat. And then we took a plate and put it down here underneath of it and put this at the same angle that the side of the boat is, and then we used a straight piece to sketch the shape of this onto here. Then we traced that out and cut it out. Created this template from that, put it back on here again, took it up to where these sheave housings are, and got these little shapes there. Then we took all this, went up onto the boat, got all the measurements from the center lines of the boat and all that, and marked out where these get inserted onto the angled panel, and put our template on there and drew this. So we're at the point now where we're ready to cut this hull out so that this can slot down in. And once it slots down in, this bottom will reach into the hull. We can set this back at that exact 9-degree angle and then draw on the hull where this cuts through, and then we can cut through the hull and finish it on down. That's going to be a lot of fun, but we'll get to it.
So we did make a great deal of progress on boat work this week.
Yeah, and that's the good news. The bad news is that right around the corner here, as you can see, it's Christmas, and that is right after that, of course, is New Year's, the end of this year. And our goal was to get all of the green panels that we have left into the boat by the end of this year. And I don't think we'll get there because of the holidays here. We just don't have that many days. And of course, we're about to be hit by a massive 4 or 5 day rainstorm coming up. So that being the case, we're not going to be able to get the last few pieces in. The main pieces left are the ones that are the walls for the heads down in each hull. And we've been working on those bilges and those tanks so that we could get the sole in, so that we could put those walls in, but we're just not going to get there by the end of this year. But we'll get that somewhere in January, probably we'll get those walls in, and so we'll be pretty close to the end. But there aren't that many pieces left. It's just a very few when we go into our containers. Now, we did promise that we were going to take a few viewer questions. So I'll have Marianne read the first one, and then we'll see how we do on answering these along the way here.
Okay, so our first question comment. Can I suggest you make your instrument panel hinge line about 1.5 inches up the panel? In that way, the panel can open and lay flat despite instruments protruding from the panel face. The 1.5 inch may vary depending on the thickest instrument on the panel. And if you add a couple of posts to the top corners, then folding the panel will not sit on the instruments.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea, and it's one we were actually thinking about. There's a couple of issues that we would have to deal with to do that we figured out. The first is our panel isn't really wide, and we're putting 2 computer monitors in there, and I'm not even sure just how much of a lip at the bottom that we're going to have available. So that could be difficult. We'll find out when we get the monitor there, and we can put the monitor as high up as we possibly can to see if we can get that lip on the bottom. The second issue is that we have a piece of acrylic that's coming attached to the top. So when the panel tilts forward, if this was the panel, it's going to stop at about this angle because the acrylic's going to land on the desk that protrudes out. And so really it's not going to land on the instruments anyway. If we wanted to do this viewer's suggestion, what we would have to do is we'd have to make the acrylic removable easily so that we could take it off and then fold it out flat. The benefit of that is we get a little bit more access to the back of the electronics. That's just why we're considering it. But if we have a problem with the width of those monitors and that lip, we can always just tilt it forward and let it stop on the acrylic, and it won't land on the instruments anyway. So one way or the other, you'll see which way we end up with when we get there.
Okay, our next question comment. This person is letting us know, as a seasoned Schoening builder, all components are designed for structural integrity, including cabinet fronts. Be mindful when making uneducated decisions. Also, any ring frames cutouts need to have a uniband around them. It should be in the plans.
Yeah, well, a couple things here. I don't make any uneducated decisions. I always check with Schoening if there's anything that could possibly be structural in any way. So I have meetings with them fairly often. Now, all of the reinforcements for all of the bulkheads and cutouts and such has all been according to plans all along. So that's already done. And sort of the final thing on that was the cabinet fronts. Well, truthfully, we really don't have cabinet fronts in the designs of this boat. There's virtually none. There may be a couple in the galley, but even there, I don't think so. Every single opening that we have just has a short lip at the bottom and nothing in the opening. That's according to the showing plan. So there's no structural change going on here because we didn't change it. We're just adding netting across an opening that already exists. We're not removing doors to do that. There were no doors.
There is no spoon.
So hope that answers your question. All right, will the back side of the electronics panel at the nav station hit that trough that we're putting in to collect any water that gets in there?
Well, that should not be a problem because we've measured carefully all of the components and everything going in there. And so with that, we think that we're pretty good since we've measured carefully everything.
Right, and the ones that are a little bit thicker, for example, the VHF radio, we made sure we have that in a spot where it's plenty of room for it to go back. So, and most of the other electronics are fairly thin, so it's really no problem. Like the monitors and chart plotters and the nav system stuff for autopilot and those kinds of things, all very, very shallow. So none of that's going to be a big problem.
Okay, so our next, we have a couple of questions here in connection with Basalt. Could you have made the angle brackets with Basalt for certain locations and saved some time and materials? And why didn't you use Basalt instead of fiberglass for your angle brackets in the fuel tanks?
Those were two different questions from two different viewers, so we put them both in there. We could have made those angle brackets out of Basalt. The reason we didn't was just saving time, because we had to make an incredible number of those brackets, that each one requiring multiple layers. And it's something like 200 feet worth of bracket. And we had rolls pre-cut in fiberglass that we could just roll out and get each one of those 10 foot at a time pieces and multiple layers on those. We don't have that in Basalt. We would have had to cut every one of those the full length of that. And it would have added quite a bit of time to building those. And the thing is that it doesn't really matter, because we're putting a layer of Basalt over the top of the bracket. And so the fuel isn't going to ever get to that fiberglass. It's just purely a support for the lid. And so the amount of time it took us to tab in that Basalt layer on top of those was far less than it would have taken to cut all of those strips of Basalt. And we would still have had to tab those things anyway to get rid of that little sharp edge of the bracket. So really it was no big deal. So that's why we went with the fiberglass. I know, that's another question. I know there will be a hatch into the workroom, but you may wish to add an opening porthole into the room as well. So there is the possibility of cross breeze in there. It's going to be an oven in the tropics.
Very true, and that's why we are putting a port light in there, so we will have that cross breeze.
Right, that's already planned, so, but thank you for pointing that out in case we hadn't thought of it.
All right. Next one is a check to see if you may have any interference with your electronics, analog nav equipment, or instruments if you plan on using magnets throughout the boat.
Okay, these magnets that we're using to keep the netting up in each of the cupboards are very weak, small magnets. They're not going to create any massive field that's going to have a problem with your electronics. Remember that modern day electronics really don't have problems with magnets anyway. The only instrument that I know of on the boat that's going to have a serious issue with if a big magnet was near it would be the magnetic compass that's up at the helm. But that's a long ways from any of these really weak magnets. And if there was going to be a problem with magnets and that compass, they would be, much more difficult to deal with for things like motors have magnets in there, and speakers have very powerful magnets, and there are speakers in the boat. These are all in the boat already, and they're far more powerful magnets than these little ones we're using to clip up our webbing. So no, I see no issue with the magnets interfering.
And our last question is, have you thought about when you'll be installing the chines?
Yeah, if you're not familiar with chines, they're on the outside of the hulls, and they're a little angled piece, basically designed so that you have the section of the hull, which Schoening has and calls the canoe, which is very narrow. But we don't want the living space to be that narrow. So on the outside of the boat, you have a chine that goes out, and it widens out the higher portion of the hull, so you have more interior space above the floor area. Of course, on the inside, there's chamfer panels, which are big angled panels that also widen up the hull up there. But they both, the chine and the chamfer panels, once they reach the hull at about the same spot, then the hull is very narrow when it goes down into the water. And this user is asking, commenter, is asking, when are we going to put that chine on? Should we put it on soon? The answer is that it really doesn't serve us any real purpose to put it on sooner, but it can get in the way because we've got to climb in and out of that boat through the side right now. We've got to lift in walls for the heads, and so there's just a lot of activity until we get the bathrooms in. Once the heads are in and all the walls are in and all that good stuff, and the soles in underneath of them, there's no more big pieces that have to come through the side of the boat, at which point we can then put the chines on, and very soon after, the actual side of the boat can go on at that point. The only thing holding up the side of the boat is that we need to get in from the side for the huge sole that goes under the heads and all the walls for the heads. So that's our reasoning on when we're going to do the chines. Well, that's the end of our questions, though, and for this week at least. And we want to thank you all for spending some time with us, and we wish you all a happy holidays and a good New Year's, although we will have a video out before the New Year, so this isn't the last one. Anyhow, next week is the big rain week. It's this forecast. We'll see how much we actually get, but it's supposed to be a lot. It's one of those atmospheric rivers, and it's supposed to be just gushing on us for 4 days. Oh boy. And that certainly cut into our chances of getting the last head panels in there this year. So a little annoying, but it's the weather. What can you do? So next week's video, I'm not sure how long it'll be because we have the holidays and we have the rain both on there. But there will be a video, and who knows, we might do a little trip planning in that video since we can't necessarily do all boat work. But I will also say that there is some boat work we can do in the rain, and we will do some of that. For example, I've been saving the rudders, shaping of the outside of the rudders for a rainy day because I can do those here in the garage. So there are some things we will do in the next video like that. But like I say, we also may go over a little bit of fun planning for what we want to do with this boat. So if you're interested in that, show up next week for the video, and we'll go over that stuff. We'll see you then.
Thank you all for watching. We appreciate you. In addition, thank you to our patrons listed here. We could not do this project without you. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.